get into discussions.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Internet. This is Paradigm Shift Radio After Party. Say hello, everybody. And we have a couple of guests here, and that were already involved in the discussion as per our topic on sexuality tonight. One of you has already taken the lead on that continue, and carry on, guys.
Dude, Joel, you really brought up something that I was on fire about.
Well, Indigo was actually talking about some specific subjects that came up today. So, were you referring to what you were discussing?
Yeah, I was talking up on a blog talk radio, and like my girlfriend wants to hear me to, she wants to hear me talk about it.
Yeah, should I bring up that point again that I was saying earlier and repeat it, or can we just start talking about it, about what I said?
Yeah, why don't you just restate what you were inquiring about specifically, so that anyone watching, can actually sort of have a segue as to where you were going?
Yeah, definitely. Just to start a discussion on the topic of what Lisa was talking about, or rather, just a specific point about all the different stuff she said, which was actually just really fascinating. At one point, she said that there are only two ways to rise the Kundalini. One was through asceticism, which is like isolation, monkship, etc. And the second one was through sexual union and its different forms. And also, she said the only way to receive or achieve a full body orgasm is through anal sex. But just from my perspective, and this is just my opinion, I find that like a little limiting, or rather a lot limiting, if you follow that train of thought, because if the Kundalini energy is a universal energy, if it's life force itself, I'm sure it has so many facets of its expression that can blossom into its full potential. And just from my experience, I can say that it does in a sense. And I would just like to get feedback from other beings, other people, about their idea about what are the ways of rising the Kundalini, and also if they agree with the views that Lisa put forth.
Okay, so when it comes to this, guys, like, here's where I would stand regarding like Kundalini rising. Is like it can happen at any moment. You can do anything that you want to do, just as long as you put your will in there, and it will come. Like, for example, the last time I made my girlfriend's Kundalini and mine rises because I did Tibetan yoga, and somehow, like, we are so connected to one another. I affected her. Like, she was living 1,000 miles away from me. Like, that was the first time. And the second time is me singing. Sometimes, like, I would sing some songs to her, and then after that, when I got a hold of her, bam, it hits. Wouldn't you say that, Deanna? Are you there?
And it almost sounds like you're describing a two-facet thing. I mean, one was very lean, but even prior to that is having established, a connection so deep that you're able to, tantalize them beyond the physical.
Yeah.
That's definitely.
Yeah, more than that, dude, you had to actually not only more than just create the connection, but also make it go hard to the point where it breaks down all ignorance. Like you're trying to jump on a trampoline, and then you go cannonball right through like the hoop and everything, and break it. That's how you do it. That's how you get the Kundalini rise above, you know. I know it sounds dangerous, but that's how you do it.
Well, as was previously pointed out, there's multiple ways people can probably utilize to get to that kind of experience. Someone mentioned in the chat here, I don't know if you can use a microphone or not, but he said that he felt his Kundalini awakened during an ayahuasca ceremony. So that's an intimate experience with the use of medicinal plants.
So let's see here. But like that's the only thing. Like any of you who actually watch this, like please notice this for me is that whenever you're doing sex or doing anything, establish a connection, a relationship. That's how this is what I see a lot and encounter a lot in coaching, in counseling. They all require you to have a relationship. If you don't have that relationship, it doesn't matter what type of sex you do on your girlfriend, it's not going to work. The stronger that relationship, the harder, the more you push on it, the more it will explode right off the bat. You can feel it right at it.
And
that's really interesting.
would you differentiate that experience from, in terms of the emotional depth of it, different from, say, a man who has no ability or little ability to control his sexual energy, and it's just so powerful that he, let's say, he just wants to masturbate on a regular basis because it feels intense like that. You describing something different, right? Where there's a maturity to an intention that sort of acts as a spear point for that kind of energy.
Yeah. The thing is that when it comes to people with strong sexual drives can actually reach enlightenment just like everyone else. The only problem is does he know what he's doing? Like, for example, take me. I'm a strong sexual drive person. That person, I happen to like. If you ask my girlfriend Deanna, she'll tell you.
I'm wondering then, because you're describing something that arose for you a lot of passion. So then my question for people would be, would you possibly experience Kundalini rising through any experience in which you are so deeply immersed in passion that it acts as that instigator? So it wouldn't relate to sex at all.
Oh, definitely not. The thing about passion is that one should be able to know that it's there, but use it as like an energy source to make yourself go beyond there. Just go back to the situation about Goku or any other Dragon Ball Z characters that you saw. One of the precursors of enlightenment or turning Super Saiyan is you have to get angry. The key thing is not anger. The key thing is snapping the emotional. You have to break down that person in order to make that person a Super Saiyan. And same thing with Super Saiyan 2.
The thing with that analogy, though, and it's funny, I actually, for nostalgia's sake, did watch an earlier snippet of a classic Dragon Ball thing, and it was actually Goku and Junior. And Goku should have been like dead. I don't know how many times over, but what I saw, what you're describing there, that passion, in that case, it was a desire to become stronger than some external force.
But most importantly, like, no, it's not simply that. You also have to love the person that you protect. Think about it. Just look at how Vegeta and look at how Goku fights. One side, Vegeta is driven by greed, driven by passion to be stronger. Versus Goku, he wants to get stronger because he wants to protect his family, protect the planet. That is the key thing even in sexuality. The key thing is you have to bring out the best of you. Use your sexuality to bring out the best of you. And once it got to that point, that is when you are using the right way to get to enlightenment. Enlightenment is when you say, okay, I see that, okay, I went through sexuality. I've experienced this and this and this. But then I was like, okay, all these stuff are fractals. I had to learn to see right through the veils of the holograms of each experience. Once I go through all of that, that experience, and I say they're just a hologram of what I've been going up into, then you finally say, I understand now. I know that enlightenment is something very attainable. It's something that I have right now in front of me.
Yeah, although I still have to see a flaw in your connection there with the DVP though, because you have, for example, them facing Boo, and Vegeta actually gives into his pride over his passion, and they put the world at risk just because they were settling their egos first. So passion can be a dirty thing, and dirty in the sense that it might not be a pure incentive. So really, if you can bring the dualistic, here's my inner drive to do something benevolent, um, facing off against, oh, my ego still wants to do
Now here's where I say,
you have to kind of like go past that and integrate it.
right. But here's the thing: you had to learn to place your passion at the right direction. Like for example, let's take Deanna for example, since I have sex with her every single day. Is that when I have passion for my girlfriend's beauty, that's a wrong thing, because first off, when I lust for my girlfriend's beauty, that's the moment I have fallen off of what true sex is. The moment I stop looking at the outside beauty and I say, I have a passion to make her into a better person, that is when I see the miracle comes in a way that I never thought of before. That's the thing.
If I can add to that, I understand your experience, but from my perspective, I don't like to omit the beauty portion of it because I find that the physical is also part of the spiritual. I mean, matter is simply energy condensed. So putting a blind eye towards one thing and only focusing on the other, just from my perspective, it's not wrong per se, but again, just in my opinion, I find that it's not as balanced as looking at the whole picture of seeing the entire view of the person. And again, I'm not saying focus solely on the physical beauty. I find that's a pitfall, most definitely just for me. But just like the overall picture, not just physicality and not excluding physicality.
Right, but like the thing is dude, here's what I found out a lot of girls they tend to struggle with is that the moment that they focus too much on the inner beauty too many times, they forgot the fact that the outer beauty matters just as much. Because here's the reason why. Because think about it: if you're beautiful from the inside, but then if you're unhealthy from the outside, how in the world do you expect your partner to thrive? You know, I can have medical problems, or my children have medical problems, and we have to carry on with it.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I was talking about your earlier point where you said you don't focus on your partner's beauty and you focus on, I forget what you exactly said, but in a sense, transforming her or something like that. Again, I agree that don't not look at the physical side of things, but at the same time, focus on the physicality of things. Again, just my perspective.
Oh yeah, correct. Now the thing is what you said is what we call integration. The key thing is integration. If you see that the moment that you divorce your divine father and mother, that's the moment things in nature goes out of whack. That's the key thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's honoring your father and mother. That's what it meant. And that's what sacred sex is. Is that when you spend the time to, like, not just physically sex with your girlfriend, but also you have to intimately say, I am willing to welcome you into my home as a child, as a mother welcoming a child or a father welcoming a child. That's the moment you've done the right thing.
Hmm.
I know it sounds weird, but that is something that both of us learned.
Does anybody else in the group have any, whether you recognize what a Kundalini energy rising is like or not, or if you think that you've experienced something like that, has anyone have an account of that whereby it wasn't through a sexual act, but some other kind of experience?
If I may answer this one, unless someone else would like to, I've actually talked quite a bit so far, and I don't want to take away the opportunity for other people to answer because this is, again, a group discussion. So if anyone would like to answer first, go right ahead. Okay, I guess not. Just for me personally, again, coming back to the point I made where I said the views that Lisa put forward were somewhat limiting in my perspective. I find just through meditation, just through breathing exercises, through Kundalini yoga itself, you can raise the Kundalini in the sense that there's just so many different methods. And touching back onto the point that you made, Joel, about passion, bringing like forth bursts of Kundalini or energy or whatnot, just from my experience, I can completely relate to that. When I'm so immersed in something and I'm so passionate about it, and I have a heightened sense of awareness of the situation of my body, of what I'm doing, the energy just, I just feel electrified. And again, I'm not sure if the Kundalini experience is subjective for people or if it's somewhat objective and most people feel the same thing. But just for me personally, it's just this almost intoxicating electricity running throughout my entire body.
Yeah, that's my question there as well, because like I can't say that I know what it's like, because I mean, some people describe some very basic sort of concept of it where they feel it somehow rising up their spine or something like that. Like I've never had anything like that, but I have felt extreme passion, something that is so tantalizing in some area of your body. And for me, like I actually rarely engage in physical sex. It's not something I feel a drive to do. For me, it feels very superficial, largely in this world, because most people just don't have the mentality, the emotional, spiritual mentality to kind of back up that physical instigation. So it's like real stimulation and tantalization is hard to find. But I actually find that when I put so much love into something I create, which for me, I tend to be very apt with foods and creating really amazing combinations and flavors and textures and things. And I actually have a meditative experience when I am eating something that I made, fully present, feeling it the way that it turns in your mouth. And it's actually like an alchemical process in a way, because if you do this long enough, it actually begins to change as things break down in the mouth. And when you have with a heightened sensitivity, to be able to feel all those transitions and the joy in that moment, like, is that some facet of what Kundalini experience might be like? I don't know.
I wanted to add something actually. There's this phenomena in, just something called, alteration of gene expression. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of that, but it's actually, it's used by mostly, biologists and neuroscientists, and it's basically what it means is, like let's say there's an experience, right, that happened to you, let's say an earthquake or perhaps, something very strong, like a very moving experience. Since your receptors in your brain produce a synapse, it will those experiences will actually alter the expression of these receptors. And it's very fascinating. Like I was reading a French gentleman published a marvelous paper, and he was talking. He did all these experiments with oxytocin, which
Hey,
is
Nikolai,
neuro.
can I add a little bit of a recap here for people who maybe who don't have the science lingo? Um, the way I get what you're describing is, let's say during this kind of sensational experience, the cells, or
Yeah,
any experience for that matter, every cell in the body has little keyholes, if you will,
yeah,
where certain, chemicals in the body will plug into to create a reaction of some sort.
yeah, exactly.
So
And
if you train yourself to experience a sensation frequently
yeah,
enough,
and
or
yeah,
expose yourself to an
understanding.
environment that's consistent,
Right,
regularly the same, then you're kind of getting those cells to adapt and to, as they when they create new cells, to have more receptor sites for that kind
yeah,
of thing. In this case, it's
exactly.
for those receptors for those feel-good hormones that might be involved with something like a Kundalini experience or any experience for
Yeah,
that
I mean,
matter.
yeah, whatever you want to call it, but no, what you said is actually very valid, and what brings to my point is that since we're talking about sexual experiences or just any kind of experiences, like it's really fascinating how basically uh, just the alteration, like for example, if you look at a person who went through so much in his life, like a survivor of a nuclear disaster. Like you could see it in their face, and the reason you could see that they have either some kind of like look on their face, and the reason why the beautiful reason is like a lot of researchers have concluded that it is all inside of your brain. You're basically generating the way how basically your mood is expressed. So it's like just puts you in that mind state that there's so much we could if we understand, and if we if we really take controls of these genes, and we just kind of somehow get a understanding, or some kind of attempt some kind of experimentations on these genes. You just I just want to see what happens, and it's just fascinating, like the process of it all, to be honest. But I
Nikolai,
mean,
I have to ask if you experience your sexual highs through some kind of scientific experimentation or actually involving yourself in human feelings.
no, no, you know what? That's a very interesting question. The now that you asked, I actually did experience once this feeling where I met this woman, and she it was I usually don't get, to be honest with you, Joel, I usually don't get this kind of feeling. It's a very, and when I usually get this kind of feeling, it kind of when I know it's that feeling where it's that determination in your you feel it in your subconscious, and you feel it's everywhere, and you feel this awareness inside of you, and you get you might get a childhood memory recalling, when you're in love, or you might feel so close to that person. This kind of kind of connection you get with the person, and it's kind of it's just so fascinating, like so yeah, I was having this connection with this girl, and we were kind of dating, and it was just this kind of I was able to express myself on another level that I can't really conceive of, and I really, I did some research, and I was like, why am I feeling this? Like, I was so curious, why is this so like unexplainable to me? Like, because I was literally, I'm sure there was some kind of alteration of gene expression of, for example, oxytocin hormones in me, which are, oxytocin is basically the chemical that is, produced in your cerebral cortex, which is kind of like, the back side of your brain, where, there's a
The
lot of.
feel good hormone that activates when you're feeling good with others.
Yeah, exactly, like emotional bonding,
Yeah,
and
so
and
it sounds like you're describing one facet in which you were experiencing passion. Even more so, perhaps, because that
yeah.
was through an avenue, the
Uh-huh.
emotional realm, that you normally are a bit more cut off from.
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, it is, because I mean, it's such a, jolting experience. I feel, dude, there's this book you should totally check out, called Brave New World. Like, I don't know if I've talked about this book, but you should totally check it out. Like, you are gonna like it so much, because, it talks about basically kind of the new age of uh, thinking, and it talks about a lot of things, like, how do humans basically, since we're only using 10% of our whole brain, at one point of, the human condition and the human time, where we're going to use actually like more than 50% or something like that. So we'll be
You know,
able to control our love for, like, let's say, you just decide, like, it would be, it's
Can
kind
I
of a.
interject here for a second? Because you just said something that bears discussion.
uh
Control your love. Do
Yeah,
do you
exactly.
see how that is out of place with, as something that's supposed to be a natural process, like an exchange of sensation and feeling between people that is natural,
Yeah.
therefore not by control? Do you
Uh-huh.
see something there that, the abnormality to that connection of thought?
Yeah. It is abnormal, because, the we're you're totally right on this, because but at the same time, there's so much things, like, for example, let's say, you have this, there's no way you could conceive of that, you could change love for someone, it's true, it's like something that can't, like, you can't really, like, change it, but it's, at the same time, I feel like, there's just something way greater, in, like, because if we think of ourselves, like, I was just having this thought, uh, last Wednesday I was just kind of sitting down and kind of taking it all in, and, I was just, thinking, like, at some point of, this whole experience of whatever this is, call it life, call it whatever. At what point, we're gonna become synchronicity? Like, do you ever think of, like, just imagine the idea of, synchronicity. I might be getting too philosophical here, but anyway.
Not
So
really. I mean, bring it down to practicality,
yeah,
synchronicity, where
yeah,
where thought goes, energy flows. So
exactly.
what you observe in your reality then is a manifestation of what you put out, and people take this for granted because people aren't taught to pay attention to that sort of thing. They're not taught to recognize that they are the creators of their reality.
Hmm.
I can bring accounts for that I experience them more and more. There's an online chat program, for instance, that I use on my phone, an app, and I today I was at the pet store getting a pet rat, and it was like the same person that I saw in the chat. I'm like, I know you. It was like
Yeah, dude.
little
I
thing,
mean,
completely
the
random.
idea.
And here's
Yeah.
another thing. Let me use another one. Today also, when this morning when I was going for a walk by the creek, there was I came across a mullein plant, which I have hardly ever seen out in the wild. So I harvested a leaf to make tea back home, and then I looked up what mullein was good for, and it's good for respiratory symptoms. And I thought, well, isn't that interesting? Because I actually decided to use cannabis this evening. So it's like this morning I was prepared with bronchial support because I was going to later do cannabis. So like at what levels, subconscious or subconscious, do we create synchronicity? It's a matter of seeing the threads because they're happening all the time.
You know what? That brings me back to my previous statement I made. Us using 20% of, well, we're using 10% of our brain. If we were to use 100% of our brain, which I don't think it would be called our brain anymore, it would be called, infinity or whatever you want to call it. I think that would be we would become eventually synchronicity. Like it would be like it's kind of hard to put it into words. The only way you can put it into words is get a lab and do the actual research and just like learn from that process because I feel like we're just art, or visionary art or poetry, that's like the only way you could like describe what I'm talking about. But no, I mean, if we become eventually synchronicity, you know, uh, it's really puts you, are we like beyond dimensional? So, like, we're, it's really like, so much like, it's just the only thing left to do is, focus on the factors that, for example, affect like, life and like focus on the molecule. Like, you were saying you picked up a plant earlier, and you were, because you felt completely, you felt some kind of relationship. This you felt this binding affinity between the plant and yourself, and I feel like that there is, if you really get precise to why did you feel that affinity, is because this plant is made up of billions and billions of electrons, and
No, no, that's just your language to that you
yeah,
prescribe
no,
to.
no, no, that is absolutely, you're
For
totally
me,
right.
all it was just connecting dots, just seeing
Connecting dots,
how one
exactly.
thing relates to another. And I look at patterns. That's my language.
Yeah,
You look at molecules and how things fit together from that minute
yeah.
perspective. I just look at
Uh-huh.
underlying motivations and things that are
I look at
supportive
those things
to one
too. That,
another
that's
in,
that's
in
a very valid thing to look at, I think, because you're what you're doing is you're looking at, this plant is affecting a certain kind of thoughts in your brain, and it's catalyzing something to something else, and like, it's,
and
making
that's
this,
the thing is
generating
the more
synchronicity.
perspectives you consider, that's where you can make more connections. The reason I even made
Yeah.
that connection was because someone that I met through another internet radio forum was talking about how the use of cannabis can be more effective or more deeply experienced if it's not combusted, because combusted create a lot of residue and destroys also some of the active compounds that would be, altered experience.
Mhm.
And so bearing that in mind is then why I thought, well, what are maybe some alternative things I could do so that I wouldn't have to combust in the earth, right? So
Mhm.
if I didn't have that perspective, I wouldn't have thought twice about, smoking the way I regularly would.
Yeah, no, I mean, when it comes to cannabis, man, it's a very big ally, to just creativity itself. Um, and I'm not just trying to like sound like, total like, it's not like it sounds like complete pothead talk, but it's true. Because it activates all these cannabinoids in your brain where you kind of, it calms your brain down so that you could kind of you're more in touch with you know, what's not accessible usually on a subconscious level. Um, but no, man, that's totally like interesting what you're saying. Like that's very interesting.
Has anyone here ever experienced an orgasm, whether full body orgasm or just regular orgasm in some altered state? Although that's almost an oxymoron, considering that you kind of are in an altered state to have orgasm.
Well, that could even refer to having it like in the dream space as well, I guess, if you're talking about it that way, which is a very interesting thing. Oh, this is interesting. Has anybody had an orgasm in their sleep without actually like ejaculating in their waking state?
Like a wet dream?
But not a wet dream. So like you actually like have an orgasm in your dream, but you wake up and your pants are dry. Has anybody ever had that?
I have experienced something when I was much younger, actually, surprisingly, that it was almost like that state of sleep where you have some semblance of awareness of that you're in the body, but you're not fully in the body. And it was just thinking about the presence of someone that I really liked, and there was complete tingling sensation all over the entire body that was more like just being in a state of bliss that's consistent, that just stays there, as opposed to a fleeting instance that you get through physical orgasm.
Very interesting. You know, I have experienced I did experience what Brendan just said. It was it was not in a form of it was actually pretty interesting because I didn't experience it in a form of human form. It wasn't like I was thinking about someone, you know. It was more of a kind of undescribable, colorful object that I saw in a kind of like huge field of geometric pattern, and you know, it was really, I couldn't really give it a name. I couldn't really give it like a color or anything. Like it was so undescribable, but it was so like the closer it was getting towards me, like it was because it was moving at such a rate where I couldn't really comprehend, you know, at what rate it was moving towards me. And the closer it got to me, I just felt this kind of, you know, full erection, and I just, you know, I started tearing up because it was so beautiful. And you know, it was just like the most beautiful thing I have ever, you know, experienced. And it was, you know, I was like fully tearing up, like it was like tearing up, like, and I was just like in this state of, you know, full self-acceptance, and you know, it was just beautiful. It was beautiful.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Just for me personally, in the topic of like altered states, I've experienced what one would maybe call orgasms, I guess, or full body orgasms on psychedelics, just in a completely, I don't know, it's undescribable, even though I'm describing it by saying it's undescribable. Uh, yeah, just the question, yes, I have.
Hmm.
Overall, with just psychedelics.
That's interesting, man.
What's I guess between the guys here, what's the longest that you guys have gone without spilling your seed? If you back to that.
Probably up to 5 or 6 months.
That's a funny way to ask that. So,
5 or 6 months? Is that what Joel said?
Probably, yeah.
That's impressive, dude. And what benefits did you
without like hand, or like without like just
without
like
spilling?
Just not,
spilling, just in general, or just like kind of like, you know, with another human being, or
not doing anything.
Like not even.
Oh, just spilling. Oh, I think
Just like not stimulating, and that's
nothing, eh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, nothing at all, huh? Nothing.
That's hardcore, man. That's so straight edge.
The most consistent thing that I can describe experiencing from that is just the calmness. It's a neutral point and perspective that you can take towards anything in life.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I would agree. I've gone
Go ahead, yeah.
I've gone for somewhere between a month and a half, and like I see that calmness because like when you don't think about it, when you don't do it, there's no like addictive behavior to it. Because like for a good portion of my life, um, I had an issue because like my dad was sexually assaulted when he was younger, and he like never told anybody. And so, like, he basically lived his life with damage, and that crossed over, and it caused me some just addictive behaviors with thoughts.
And you're gonna yourself can't repeat that because the siren is accurate.
Oh, how's this?
We're good.
Okay. So, when my dad was younger, like 18-ish, he was sexually assaulted by a cop. And so, once he was done high school, he just left. He didn't tell family or anything. So, this was basically in him for his entire life, and he had basically had a partnership with my mom, and he would cheat on her, and there was just this unhealthy behavior. And so when I was in the womb, obviously, like some of the stresses and issues crossed over into me, and
Yeah.
so in this relationship I had at the point where I was just getting out of high school. I was pretty sexually addicted at this point because, like, once puberty came in, it was just like it never went away. I never had people I could talk to even understand what was going on in my head. And so, in my second ayahuasca ceremony, I had this huge revelation about that, where I didn't necessarily go into memories or anything, but after the ceremony, all of that was completely gone. Like, I had never experienced such a clarity where, like, I could just think on a normal basis. And, like, I don't know, it can be such a profound experience just to even have that calmness. Because, like, sexual actions, they can have their positive potential, but it can be extremely negative. And so, like, once I got that calmness, like, it really added to my spiritual practices just by, like, adapting meditation, yoga, breathing, and all that kind of stuff.
It's a very I was gonna say, it's a very interesting point of view you brought up. You know, it's so funny to think like we as Homo sapiens, uh, just I feel like this kind of action it's a very it's kind of a primate. We're still animals. I mean, like it or not. I feel if we just fully accept it as a human, you know, I'm assuming we're talking about masturbation, correct?
I don't think so. I think what our friend was talking about here before was actually, were you talking about being involved with
Me?
others? Yeah.
Actually, I was also talking about my partnership with
Okay.
the relationship. Like, and once like puberty kicked in, that's kind of like where I did start to masturbate, even though I didn't know what it was. Like, it was pretty funny because I had just kind of naturally figured it out. Like, I didn't really know much about porn or anything on the internet at that point, but I just kind of found a pleasure at the time, but to me, I was, somewhere between 10 and 12, so it was quite new to me. But as I got older, like, that's where the sexual addictions got worse. Because, like, it was constant. And, like,
Yeah.
in the relationship I was in, at that point,
The addiction or the physical act?
Just the
like,
general act of addiction, right?
like, it was physically addictive, but then it was also mentally addictive. Because,
Yeah.
like, I had
okay.
Yeah. So
Because
once I got
any physical play of addiction is always because of something you're suppressing at a mental, emotional level. I mean, a mental is sort of the surface, really. The emotional underlying current behind that is you're trying so hard to run away from something that the more harder you run from that, the more powerfully the addiction plays out. It's just a avoidance mechanism. That's all they are. And I can actually relate to that because I understand what you're describing there. And this for me was back in college. I know it's like every day, multiple times a day, just having orgasm after orgasm. It's like but
Okay,
that
so
was it was because of running away from not having courage, succumbing to fear. It kept you from keeps a person from having to check in with reality because you are in, guess what, this altered state that you're trying to get back to over and over again. So it's really an unhealthy use of the energy. It becomes an addiction. Not addiction is healthy, but that one in particular can have a lot of destructive effects, especially if there's other people involved as well, because then it's just not your seed that you're destroying.
yeah.
Very, very interesting. With my experience with that, I don't know if because, I guess it also, I think it's culture where you were brought up is actually a very important factor to it all. Because, when I, like, growing up, for example, in Russia, where, there's, things, are kind of, you know, there was, a big part of, it was very closed. This everything was closed when, Soviet Union was, people didn't express themselves in a very big manner. People just kept it to themselves, and, if they were to express it, it would be like straight up public shaming. But no, that's out of that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, with my experience, I feel like it's a perfectable, acceptable thing to feeling sexually, or, you know, attracted to someone, or, or you're attracted, so you have to self-accept that. And you have to accept that you have neurotransmitters that will make you feel like that. That's just how your brain is, made up, basically. Because, like it or not, it's, you're a human being, and your biological instincts is to find another human being, and, to fuck fuck that other human being, and to actually make another human being. And, that's how the human condition works. So we repopulate things. And, I think it's a perfectly, I feel like rationalizing sexual behaviors is actually, always have been a big ally to me also. But
And also very relevant in those circumstances, it's whether it's genetic expression or emotionally adapted from the genetic blueprint from the parents, and actually anything down the lineage can express
yes,
itself through you. So your tendency to experience addictive tendencies through sexual acts or just through, orgasming, that can also be the playing out of untended emotional traumas from your own lineage, whether mom or dad or both.
Yeah,
It really does matter.
absolutely.
It gives you that predisposition just by default, but not fixed. Nothing is fixed. Your environment has the total capacity to turn anything on or off. But
Yeah.
you come into this world with, these preconditions, and then they may play out or they may not, based on, the circumstances you find yourself in, and how far down the rabbit hole you go. In my experience and observation of others, is also to the exact contrast of how high you and elevated you can get in your experience and observation and appreciation of life.
Yeah. So
Nice.
Yeah, no, that's a very interesting view. You know what? We've been, it's only mostly male talkers. I actually want to hear Kristen point
Yeah.
of view. Because I'm really interesting, I just kind of want everyone to throw their opinions. I was just wondering what your point of view on this whole shebang is.
Cheap bang, cheap bang.
Um, well, a lot of the stuff that you guys are saying is very interesting. Some of it really resonates with me too, like with my childhood and just being around a lot of sex and thinking that it was so normal and having to do it. Um, like, I mean, I didn't really grow up with a father, so like my mom brought home a lot of guys, and so I kind of saw that that was normal and how she got her love. So a lot of that, I sort of looked in wrong places because I thought that that was what love was, and that somebody had to give or throw themselves at you, and how you have to be sexy and stuff like that, and just growing up, I guess, thinking that you have to be perfect.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's such a rare thing, isn't it?
yeah, and
Yeah.
so now I'm shifting my thought on everything,
Mm.
and loving myself and giving myself that love and appreciation I need and I want. And so once you give that to yourself, you feel so much better, and then you just, I don't know, it just feels so good to me. And
Yeah, that's
I'm
good.
glad you brought that. I'm glad you brought that up, because that self-value, self-worth is
yeah,
incredibly important. Because another thing that can happen is if we have low self-worth and we're taking it out by getting involved with others and then bending over backwards and doing whatever they want, being intimate, and you don't feel like you're actually leading them on, but it's because of insecurities, and then you end up hurting them down the road because that you led them on. You led them on courage to be stand up and be yourself for yourself. So that the way that anyone loves you, or to how superficially someone is towards you, is a direct example of how loving you are to yourself.
yeah, yeah. Well said.
Well
if I can
experienced.
add,
Huh?
if I can,
Go ahead.
if I can add on to self-love, in a relationship, I would say one of the biggest issues was after a month we got sexual because we had just met, and then a month later we got into sexual actions, and then that's kind of where our relationship started. And so there was this huge imbalance because we were both not in a good mental state to be in a sexual relationship, and so it was hard for us to have our own appreciation for ourselves. And so with me, I was after love because for all my life I was really confused about what love is, because as I grew up through school, I was basically taught that I'm male, I'm supposed to act a certain way, I'm supposed to treat women a certain way, I'm supposed to speak a certain way. And once I got out of high school, that's when I'd kind of woken up to the fact that I was transgender. And so in the relationship, I had opened up about that because it was quite a big thing. But because she had her own issues, she never really was able to see how he was damaging me in a sense, because when we would have sex, it wasn't about my pleasure. It was more so just about her getting off. Just to, I don't want to put it rudely, but it's kind of just how she was taught. And like, so with our relationship, I was basically taught to appease people all my life. And so in this relationship, I did exactly that. I appeased her. I basically just obeyed. And like, I really got lost and forgot how to be myself. And like, even for the 2 years after this relationship, I was totally fucked up. Because like, I was always stuck in self-guilt if I said anything wrong or if I did anything wrong. And then because I felt guilty, I'd get sad or I'd feel more down about it. But then because of that, I'd be angry because of how like the relationship kind of just went. It caused me a lot of frustration on top of what I had already learned. And so with just getting into meditation and yoga in the past about a year, that's like helped me to see the more positive side of actually showing yourself love first, because you can't love somebody else if you don't even know how to love yourself. And then with ayahuasca, it even just deepened my connection with myself.
Yeah, that's beautiful, brother, and well said.
Thank you.
Yeah, for this issue is definitely compounded. Well, I don't call it an issue, but this learning curve is definitely compounded for people who have that sort of lack of a sexual identity, where they just maybe let themselves be, programmed to what's normal, and then they find out that they like the same gender, or you have some people going as far as to say that they feel they are of the opposite gender and are in the opposite physical body. So it just becomes that part of self-exploration, self-acceptance. These are like the roads that you travel towards discovery of self-love, and then you realize that you're free to just be yourself, and that is what you should have always done. But you know what? Having gone through that, I bet you can appreciate that much more and express other aspects of yourself in equal genuineness because of recognizing just how far of a stretch it is from being told to know what's normal and then you recognizing what's normal for you.
Yeah. And I do see that like appreciation, because I probably wouldn't be as positive as I am now if I hadn't have gone through the hardships. And like that has brought me a lot of appreciation, like even just for the small parts of life. Like I still deal with like depression and anxiety and PTSD and like suicidal thoughts, but like that's just a process. And like I don't know, it's interesting.
Would you say, I don't know, the way that I've kind of looked at things is, I
I've never really I've never really looked at, like, I guess it's called like suicidal thoughts, but I would look at it as more as I just want to go home, man. You know, not I just want a different reality. That's not right now, of course, but I'm saying, like, when I would ponder, you know, the deeper questions, I would just be like, my home planet, or where things are not so constant duality, and does that make sense?
Indeed.
Yeah, totally makes sense.
So I
Just
don't
from
know, um that may be a brighter way to put it. And so now some things could just be mentally suffering in some certain ways, but that may be a brighter way to put it. It may not be suicidal thoughts. It may be your soul speaking to you about what it remembers. And if you had life on a planet that was like a utopia, it's a lot different than being here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
yeah,
think we have to. I mean, I'm sure that Michael, with the degree of self work you've done, this is an issue for you. But for just anyone who's kind of like exploring, to really just recognize that just adding a shade of color to it to make something like suicidal ideation, for instance, seem less than it is, to recognize, are you still running away from something, or are you actually honoring yourself, honoring your vulnerability to that? I just don't know what to do. This sucks, and please show me a better way. So just something to be aware of, because it's easy to mask our perceived intentions as actually more escape tactics, because, and this is where spirituality, I kind of talked about this in a video I did recently, where the it's like you're creating a reality or moving away from, for the specific purpose of moving away from something that feels bad, instead of just doing what you do for the sake of doing it, because it's a wonderful experience to have for however long it lasts, but not because you're just trying to get away from something else. There's a lower form of spirituality, and there's a really inclusive form of spiritual living.
Yeah. Well, like, if I'll add on to, like, the suicidal thoughts, like, it's not something I want to do, because I really do like life. And the first time I'd kind of come to the conclusion that I would end my life was when I was about 9 or 10. And it was more so because of me being bullied. Like, I was a very, very tiny kid. So, like, I was an easy target. I couldn't really defend myself. I was taught to appease people. So, like, I wouldn't stand up for myself. And so, like, it got to this point where I just wanted to end my life. Because with the suicidal thoughts, it wasn't necessarily, like, my inner self wanting it. It was more so the ego just holding on to the damage that came from the bullying, and just, like, adding on to, like, whatever I experienced in my past and early childhood development. And so when I went to go kill myself, it was me wanting just to cut my throat. And, like, it was really weird because when I wanted to, it wasn't me thinking this, but it was one of my spirit guides that I came to realize, like, not long ago, that he had come to me and basically told me, if you do it, what are you going to miss? Because, if you kill yourself, you're going to miss out on an entire lifetime of things. And so,
Totally.
when this, like, happened, I don't know, it just really resonated with me, because she also said that just move forward. You know, you'll get out of school, and then it'll be better. And like that kind of gave me like a push to just
Right. You know, it sounds like you're describing that, and coupled with the experience of your father, it
yeah.
goes to that you have a very specific lesson to learn in this life, in this incarnation, or karma to resolute, very specific through this kind of thing. I mean, look how it impacted you, and look at how much of a contrast you have on this subject.
Yeah,
So, for all we know, you came here to master this understanding so you can communicate it to others who suffer as a result of these kinds of experiences and don't have the words for it or don't know how to process it. So you've been given a gift, despite seeming as a hardship, just in order to benefit others.
and I'm glad you said that because like that's one of the conclusions I had about myself. It's like even though I've gone through these things, like I'm still here. I'm kicking it. Like my goals are to become a shaman and to just go under the teachings of Ayurvedic healing. So um, when I was younger, like I wasn't really all there because of what had gone on, but like my sister could see that I should be a counselor because just the things I was going through, just it was a good guideline to go into counseling, and I do agree with that because once I do the shamanistic side and the Ayurvedic healing, I want to explore more into like neuroscience and how the brain functions. Because if I could work with children, that would be like the end goal of everything I do. Because when it comes down to it, you got to really be careful with children because they're not necessarily fragile, but
They're sponges.
even yeah, exactly, and the tiniest things can affect them, and like we don't really have a society that goes with meditation for well, they don't teach children meditation, but you see some parents who do, and then their children, they're much more calm, they don't get as stressed, they don't bully people. Like it's such an incredible shift. And like if we had kids learning meditation, how to garden, how to take care of animals, and how to take care of the land, we would see such a paradigm shift happen in literally like just one generation of kids being born.
Can I drop a seed for you? See, that is the vision that you have. Now you need to step into it. So in your
Yeah,
life, start taking action steps that actually create that or elements of that, and then let it unfold and grow in a natural way. But with you sharing this experience right now, it's probably already consider the universe telling you you're on path. Take the next step. You know, I remember some time ago, quite a long time ago, someone suggested to me that I do like group circles and just discussion forum for people to talk about on subjects relating to spirituality and other stuff. And it's like stuff like that is like the science saying, you're here to communicate something, so go communicate it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I want to add, honestly, what you made a very important factor there. I would totally add that, I think that, for the future generation of, kids, I mean, I already see it today that, children are really very curious about just the nature of reality and different factors of the reality. And it's very important because for a kid, I feel because I was told my grandma was the headquarter of the chemistry department in Moscow State University, and I honestly learned a lot from her growing up. And I feel like the more the more kind of friends you have of, for example, different ages, different age groups, the more of a bigger picture you have on just the perspective of things, because you get to see different kinds of generations, and you get to you get to see different things, and you get to experience you get a very different outlook on life. So I would absolutely I feel like just collectively as a society we need to definitely I feel we should eradicate all forms of propaganda, all forms of um, uh, I don't want to say, like, I know I really don't want to offend people in this group, it's kind of like, I don't want to say like spirituality, no, not spirituality itself, but what's the dogmatic things that uh, certain certain spiritual things could bring. So it's not really spirituality in itself. It's really all up to us. Like, it's really, we're kind of making our own decisions here for ourselves. So to say the least, I feel like we really need to focus on what's true, and the truth, really, the truth of the reality, the truth of the nature of life, the beauty of life, and the ecstatic feeling we get when we look at a flower, or anything of that kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. If I can touch upon about what Indigo said about being a shaman and counseling and vision of the kids and everything, Joel touched upon this, but I just found it so beautiful that you're able to use experiences that you've had, and instead of locking them away and pushing them away and forgetting about them, you're going to be able to use those experiences to relate to, like you said, children in the future, and help them get through whatever may be negatively affecting them. So again, it's so awesome that you're able to do that. Just use your experiences. It's almost empowering. Instead of letting them use you, you're able to use them just for your own benefit to other people and yourself. That's what I want to comment on.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's cool, man. So you're trying to become a shaman, you said?
Yeah, like
Cool.
I just met, like on the 19th to the 21st, I drank ayahuasca for the third to fifth time with the maestro who taught the shaman I dealt with for the first two, Juan Flores,
Hmm.
if you want to look.
I think
But
I've heard of that name. That name sounds super familiar. Does he do art by any chance?
I'm not 100% sure, but man, he is phenomenal. Like, he's quite well known because he travels around a lot. Like, and one of his things is he's trying to bring North America and South America into balance again. Like, do
No.
you know about the eagle and the condor prophecy?
No. What is that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's basically where when the white man basically came over to uh, the western side of Earth, uh, the natives were really confused because why would the creator send such terrible creatures because they didn't take into consideration how Gaia functions and how, you know, everything you do to the earth affects everything, every piece of life, you know. And so the prophecy is that 500 or so years later, you would see kind of rebirth of native culture, but all indigenous cultures across the world. So that's our time right now. What we see going on is where like people are now starting to appreciate indigenous cultures in the shamanistic ways, whether it was something you were taught as a child or whether it's what you found you were called to do. Like for me, I was called to it. And like I've had inklings that kind of just led me to it, and I'm thankful that I've at least had the chance to experience ayahuasca because it's given me a very uplifting experience into how I can change myself, and it's given me my purpose in life. And like one of those things is to go train with Juan Flores because he's just he has such an energy about him. I can't even explain it because I don't think I have the language to even explain it.
Mm-hmm.
You
But
don't need to yet because
my
you're apprenticing with someone who's going to teach you how to find your voice, your connection, to be able to share it through your unique perspective. And those that will benefit from your perspective will ultimately be the ones then drawn to you to receive their own self-healing, just simply guided or triggered by someone who they can relate to.
Oh yeah, I totally
yeah,
agree with what Joe just said. I also wanted to add, I mean, like it or not, shamanism is actually a form of psychiatry of its kind. Because
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just, yeah. I feel like, the thing to do is, if this, if Western psychiatrists collaborated somehow with shamanists in the Amazon. If I don't know how exactly that could work out, but I do believe that could happen someday.
Well, Dr. Gabor Mate actually did that, and then he started being shown in the medical profession. Surprise, surprise.
Oh, well,
oh,
you gotta send me that because I'm totally interested in that. Because
Yeah.
yeah, like I feel like just they have so, and the fascinating thing about the shamanism specifically in the Amazon. It's like they have I'm sure you've heard that they have all these different kind of like tribes, and they would like it's totally a culture of its kind. Like they would they have and they have this you know bufo toad called bufo Alvarius,
yeah,
and it's it's actually it's slightly different from ayahuasca, but and it's because ayahuasca is basically made up of beta carbolines, harmalines, uh, all these kind of uh, indole things.
Hey, hey,
Plus,
hey. She's not just a cesspool of chemicals. She has a spirit.
no, no, no. But let me just express myself. I know it's like it's kind of hard, but okay. And mainly DMT. Okay, so that's kind of the main thing, right? But Bufo, these other shamans from I don't I if you could totally like because I don't remember what area, but what they would do is they would make this snuff, right? And they would actually stick like a wood stick up your nose and they would like blow. It would do like, and it would and it's actually no beta carbolines. It's something called um, 5 hydroxy DMT.
Yeah.
So it's really, it has, it has basically an oxygen attached, an alcohol kind of group attached on the DMT on the fifth position, to the fifth position. So it's really similar to serotonin. I mean, it's so similar to your serotonin. It's actually more similar than DMT itself. Like so it's so fascinating. Like and there's like a whole culture behind that kind of thing. It's like it's not ayahuasca, but it's something else. Like it's just so fascinating. Like I gotta go to Amazon, man. I mean, I really want to go someday. um,
When I'm living in Brazil, I'll invite you over.
Dude, yeah. If you're gonna go to Brazil, man, I gotta go with you, man, because like, I feel like that would be fun. Yeah.
We'll see snakes in the physical and in the etheric.
Uh-huh. Right? Yeah, I wanna like, how's Brazil? You're from Portugal, right?
Yeah. I've never been to Brazil. I just have privy to knowing that they are in the southern hemisphere, so even though seasons are reversed, there's still such a much greater welcome than Canada's Great White North.
Okay.
Hmm.
Right.
But yeah, the shamanistic practices and a lot of spiritual practices are quite native to Brazil, and I don't think
Oh,
you
yeah.
have to go too far into the jungles to find these kinds of native practices there. So it's quite a
Oh,
spiritual
wow.
hotspot.
Joel, you're in Brazil?
No, I'm in Canada.
Oh, okay. I was like,
I might visit Brazil next year.
oh, okay. There's a lot of people in Canada.
Yeah.
Is Brendan in Canada?
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm from Canada.
area.
Wait,
Oh,
who's from the U.S.? Hey, is anyone from the U.S. here?
oh, I am.
You're from the U.S. for sure.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Austin, Texas, out in the middle of nowhere. No, I mean it is a city, but to find people like it's like little small groups that you'll find once in a while. But the area I live is pretty conservative in a sense. It's more South Austin that has more spiritually minded people.
Yeah, for sure. You know what? I could totally relate with you on that because I live in the part of LA which is exactly like that. Even though if I go to like downtown LA or like Venice, like, you know,
Venice, yeah.
yeah, Venice is the kind of place where, you go and people are just, very collective there as a community. But I personally think that, uh, if you're just, you know, radiating all this rich knowledge and you're, being the best of who you are and just, being as collective as you can, or whatever you want to call it, I feel like, you'd be fine because, again, I'm talking on the synchronistic level. Uh, you will find these people, and these people will find you. It's not a, because I totally had that happen to me, and it's just the process of just meeting new people. You meet new people, and you create new connections, and kind of like, the pattern you see in nature. You just it's kind of like becomes a network, and then it becomes another network, and there's branches, and it's kind of like that. But
Hmm. Yeah, that totally makes sense.
hmm
I mean,
Find
it's
that you can kind of gauge what areas of your life you're most being attentive to based on whatever your immediate social circles and contacts are. Um, and if you look at that, you can really actually pinpoint patterns in what you keep repeating over and over again, and where you keep stumbling, and where you actually feel like you have a genuine interest in making progress. And just simply by looking at the social avenues that you're engaging with,
Mm.
paradigm shift being one of them.
Yeah, there is, yeah, paradigm shift is totally one of them. I have to agree. I was like, you know what, and like, festivals also is a very good, healthy thing for the mind. Not it depends on the festival, of course, but no, like some festivals, you could go there, and you know, Dallas is like next to Nirvana and Nevada, sorry. And actually, you know, it- there's Burning Man that just happened there, and you could totally go there and find the people you're looking for, and they will find you. So, or some other festivals. There's just so many. There's so many festivals in the U.S. by itself, and I'm sure there's festivals in Canada also. They're, just everywhere. They're
I want to mention this because very often I come across people who are really in the whole wishful thinking mode, and they're always like wishing that, oh, I wish this was here, or I wish I could go to that.
right.
And it's like, and then I have two things to say to that. One is if you are in a densely populated area, then like just research a little bit because I guarantee if you want to find like-minded, like-hearted communities and people or events that are around you that are within reachable distance, you'll find them. And if
Yeah.
you're not, well, this is where point number two comes in. Chances are you're not the only person in your vicinity that likes to think outside the box, that lives outside the box, and would like expressing outside the box. So start your own kind of community, your own circle, your own whatever it is, however your creativity gets you to create it. But just saying this, I think it's really relevant for anyone who hears this to realize
Yeah.
that hey, you can do it. You can be the pioneer behind that experience rather than just riding on someone else's surf wave.
Dude, like you're like I'm so glad you're saying that. That makes like a lot of sense actually. Like it makes so much sense. Like I don't even know how to put it to words, but
Then let me
totally.
add a little cherry on top. It doesn't matter if you pursue this and you perceive yourself as failing. You'll learn from it, you'll gain more confidence because remember what I said before? The further you fall in the path, whatever it is that kind of fall is, the greater the distance, the greater the depth of the high and the wonder you'll also be able to experience.
Right.
So anyone who pursues that, you stumble, awesome. You're gonna get it like 100% better next time.
Yes. Yes. It's all about creating, man. It's like it's all about that, create, just, create as much as you can and manifest what you think is really deep down inside of you. Like check this out. Like last Wednesday I was kind of doing some fractal math is something I'm totally into now, and I was playing around with like just like it's kind of like a program where you type in a certain ratio and it would give out this beautiful like um, kind of like uh, image, and you could change its colors, its shapes, and I made this like T-shirt, and like that's what I made, and like dude, like it's you see like, and like that's my own representation of like the human mind, and and like I like posted it on Twitter, and like my friend, he was like, oh man, I want to get one, like get me one. I was like, all right. So it's all about creating joy. Like I totally agree. Yeah, I could show you again, dude. I could actually like send you if you want like definitely one if you want. It's like very kind of like, do you see like the cubes? The cubes are like so infinite. Like that's kind of like my representation of like the mind. It's like there's like different. It's kind of hard to see, but like it's kind of like the representation how infinite our really the human mind is. It's really um it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like that's one of the really nice things about the internet is because like in the past, I don't know, half a year, I've really began to open up because like there's so much potential with the internet to open up people. Because like in Kenora, where I live, it's really like backwards in its way of thinking because it really wasn't that long ago, like less than 30 years ago, we stopped having uh, segregated fountains and bathrooms, like for natives. Like it's terrible, and people still
Wow.
to this day are extremely racist. And like that's one of the other things I want to get into is helping rebalance native appreciation because the natives in the northwestern Ontario area are very lost. And it's not their fault, it's just they don't know how to um, find balance between having their own culture, but then also living in a money structure because nobody taught them how to function with financial issues. Nobody taught them how to fix a house, but yet it is like our government that gave them houses, that gave them all these things because of the treaty and all these things that have gone on, and like they're not real like well the government's not really taking into consideration that the damage is still there because it's ancestral damage, if you know what I mean by that.
Mhm.
Yeah, and like
Okay.
um, with Kenora, since there's like a terrible communication basis, one of the things I've also wanted to do is get something going with people meeting in a group, even just having like meditation sessions and like it's something I'd want to do. But then seeing with your YouTube page, how did you guys start up with it? Because I've not really seen much yet.
Um,
Maybe Brandon should address that
well,
one, but
well, Brendan, yeah.
until he cues in, I might say that use what resources are available to you locally. I mean, I don't know if you live in an urban area or a rural area, but wherever there is, some kind of community hub, you could simply print out a poster or something saying that you're initiating this meeting, or just have people can sign up to receive more via email or something like that, so that people can sort of prep for what they might receive. I don't know how much technology plays a part out there where you are, um, but like that's one way that you could go about it. Just go to where community already happens, and then what
Yeah,
you bring forward is enlightening that community.
yeah. And actually, like, I live in the lakeside area, and literally only like 3 blocks away is a community arts hub, which, like, I have been getting involved with over the past year, because, like, they do stuff with, like, all the farmers around town, so, like, they help get interest going with, like, organic farming, with the native community, with even just drumming. Like every couple weeks, there's drum meets. There's sometimes like little coffee houses, but the only issue is that the communication doesn't really get out there. Like even on Facebook, it doesn't really get out. Even through email, it doesn't really get out because people just they don't see it enough. Like, what's a really good way to get it out there?
I think I could answer that for you. You know, last I was actually, kind of walking around where I study, and I actually stumbled across two girls that were just kind of like talking about, and I kind of came up to them and, I asked them what is the most, I didn't even know what their interests are, what kind of conditions, what are they thinking about. So I totally started talking to them about nature. Like my first question, like, excuse me, can I ask you a question? What is the most beautiful thing you find in nature? And they kind of like looked at each other like that, and like they were like I'm not too sure like what you're asking me, and I'm like, let me elaborate my question. What are the factors you find? Like, what is your favorite like bird, or what is your favorite kind of flower, or what is just your favorite kind of what is the thing you appreciate most about just nature in general? And I started getting what I wanted the answer. I started like this girl said, oh, like the birds, the way they create sound, like, and like, you start, you just, be yourself to the fullest and just radiate this kind of, uh, like, electromagnetic, like, thing that kind of just that just kind of complexifies other things, and those things complexify other things, like, you feel me, like, you know what I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's all about that. I feel like it's all about that. Like, it's just be like the most powerful kind of be the most powerful thing. Like, it's really all about kind of connecting, really just thinking about the most beautiful things and trying to generate them, kind of like put them into language, in the context of this reality, which is kind of language.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I mean, that's how I would do it. But everyone has their own ways, I guess. So.
Yeah. No,
Uh-huh.
that works.
Mhm.
Sometimes just going with the flow is literally the best way to do it.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
I think there's a great irony here as well, just because in my learning curve, in my growth these last few months, has also been with learning with respects to understanding the legal infrastructure of our world and
Mhm.
the the legal name, what that binds you to, or the perception of what that binds you to and what you identify with. The irony being that these people, natives, aboriginals, that are already connected to nature, were then programmed to be disconnected from nature, and now they're trying to figure out how to juggle it when the answer still lies in just be connected to nature and forget the bullshit that was brought over to here by the control structure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, Joel, like, I totally agree with you. Like, yes, the system is fucked and everything, but I feel like we need to infiltrate that system and, just, change it to its kind of make the shpick happen, by kind of changing it. Uh, and, once, because, if we all do that kind of, you know, something that happened in America in the 60s, you know, turn off, tune in, drop out, like, you know, that, you know, it can be not always kind of, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a very beautiful thing, and it's part of, you know, the collective unconscious, but
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah, but there's a point where
Right,
you
Timothy
kind of say,
Leary.
like, okay,
yeah,
been there, done that, and guess what? That system that exists, it's a parasite. There's no changing it. That is its nature.
right. But you know what? I feel like, you know, yes, it is its nature, and I feel like, you know, maybe if it's not, you know, if we are, you know, like I said, going to become synchronicity, if we're that's where we're going towards, you know, becoming the actual synchronicity and actually kind of leaving our comfort zone. I feel, you know that that we will realize eventually that this parasitic system was actually never there, and you know it was just a fragmentation of someone's thought or something like that. It would be like it would be a really forgotten thing, you know. It's that's how I feel. I mean, I may be totally wrong though.
Well, what you're describing is this part of the process so that we can see the contrast of what we really don't want, so we can be really clear on what we do want. And that's super important. So the whole point here is get really effing clear on what you really do want so that you're really driven to create that
Yeah,
and not get lost in any kind of worry or trying to fix something that is already
yeah.
set as it is. Create your own fucking way to relate to the world.
Yeah, and creating it's like that's the most important thing. Creating, not like I feel like that's where like the distinctions, because like there's like, you know, that's where, you know, like philosophers and like, you know, scientists kind of like separate, because you know there's a lot of like, and dude, like you don't even know how big of a rivalry that there is between philosophers and like, you know, physicists, biologists, and you know, it's just such a bad, like it's not even funny, like it's so bad, and it's, you know, you just like, because a lot of philosophers, you know, I know I have a lot of dear philosopher friends that are very good people, and like I respect them very dearly, but it's like we need to like focus on the thing and actually do it, you know, instead of just, you know, kind of philosoph philosophizing, you know, like, you know what I mean, and like, and it's like a hard thing to say, like it's there's a lot of factors I'm missing out, but it's really it's
We can dance all day,
yeah,
create
exactly,
any story around how are we going to just be
yeah,
courageous. Well, here's how.
but
You
we're on
just
the right path, we're on the right
you
path,
have your idea, you just do it. That's how you do it.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
and you know what's the
Just like I
funniest
said
part?
before, if you fudge up, that's okay. So that particular
yeah,
way didn't work, and you'll be better guided to how you can make it
yeah,
work. But it's not getting lost in the all the petty details. This is the hardest thing to really accept in manifestation is that you don't have to get it all right. You don't have to plan every single iota. You just
mhm,
start, and then you let the process unveil itself as you become a co-creator of it, or rather a co-participator of it, because everything's already there anyway. You're just navigating through all these possibilities.
mhm,
So
yeah,
life is
no, you are,
sailing with a boat. Put your sail up when you need to. Put it down when you don't. When you need a rest.
yeah,
Well, like that that's the funniest thing, because like Nikolai, what you were saying about the science and philosophy, and if like once you get into like the shaman cultures, you
mhm,
really realize how like biology and psychology and all these ologies that people specialize in, they're
Mm-hmm.
all a part of the exact same thing. And science
Mm-hmm.
is philosophy, it is biology, it's
yeah,
all of that combined in one. And like
Yeah.
we've kind of created this idealism that you have to specialize to be good at something, and like it really takes away from what it means to
Be you.
go after knowledge, because if you
That's a good
go
point.
after learning like different types of things, you then start to really see the big puzzle of how things work.
Yeah,
And
you
like,
start thinking unconditionally. Is that what you're trying to say, right?
yeah,
Totally.
yeah,
Absolutely. No, I agree. I absolutely agree. And that's the problem with a lot of scientists that I have a buddy of mine who was kind of last week he was studying amino acids, and he could not solve, like he could not uh, synthesize this like amino acid that was actually asked him to synthesize, because he wasn't paying attention to the process of things. And I was because he was more focused on what he wanted, and I was like, dude, like you totally, like, you're not gonna get the right yield, you're gonna fuck up. And he did, and I was like, learn from the process. And it's like, like, kind of like, it's a form of uh, like meditation. It takes it's all about like learning from all of it and just taking it all in, trying to acquire as much rich knowledge as you can. Like, I totally like had this experience once. Like, it was kind of like experience of its kind, but like I started like looking at this like beautiful image, and like I started drooling for no reason, because this image was just full of knowledge. And like I could, I had, like, have you ever heard the term, like, I'm sure you have, synesthesia, where your senses actually like kind of cross, you
yeah,
know? Yeah,
yeah.
and it's like I could start seeing like knowledge, and it's like it was so sweet and so bitter, and it was just so juicy, and it was just like, like, I love it, like, just learning things, it's
Yeah,
so, yeah, it's beautiful, like,
that's
I
awesome.
never, yeah. You probably experienced that. Like, I'm sure, like, cause just learning things, like, it's like, it's such a exciting thing, because if people, like, if you could convince somehow, just for a person, for some, I don't know, like, for, like, some really not intellectual person, just to pick up a book, like, how would you convince them, like, to kind of, there must be some kind of catalyst that would kind of allow them to kind of pick it up and be hungry for this knowledge, like, and I don't know.
There was such a fixed program that you could just find everyone's keyhole, but the reality is, Nikolai, that if the person that you are expressing your message to
Hmm.
pick it up from you, they'll pick up whatever they're able and willing to receive at that point in time that
Hmm.
you're able to deliver to them. And so
Hmm.
maybe you nurtured a little bit of that essence in them that wanted to expand, but maybe not enough with your liking. But you can't be attached to that. You just have to allow the process, because this person, if
Yeah.
they choose to expand their experience, they'll encounter someone else that will trigger them further along their path. Um,
Right.
that's
Right.
a process for this, and as long as we're just always being proactive about it without being attached to any specific outcomes, this is how we should be taking action.
No, I mean, I'm not saying that at all. I mean, I'm saying, like, like, what I'm ultimately saying is just kind of thinking unconditionally, and just thinking completely outside of the realm of possibilities. That's really, important. And yes, yes, like, not like, not sticking to one thing. Yeah, like that, like, I can't, like, that's that's like totally true. Yeah, like yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Like there's this book I want you guys to like totally check out. You probably know this author actually, Joel. Have you ever heard of Polo Coelho by any chance? He's a
Coelho? I've heard the name, but I'm not
Yeah,
sure what.
Paul Coelho wrote The
yeah,
Alchemist.
yeah, dude. This book is so awesome.
Is that the
Like,
Alchemist? Yeah, that's The Alchemist.
yeah, it's The Alchemist, and it's such a good book. Like, I read it, and it was definitely like, like visualizing the whole story. Like, it was very beautiful. It,
Mm,
yeah, like I don't know, like
I
I
never
don't.
finished
What's
that
the essence
book.
that you took from it, without even getting into the plot of it? What did
No, I'm
you?
not. I don't want you to. I don't want to get in the plot of it because I want you actually check this out because this guy like he because he writes he's a Portuguese kind of novelist that writes a lot of kind of like um kind of like very romantic and sexual things but this book like it just like the rates went like so up for this book it's kind of like
Yeah, Will Smith promoted it.
yeah, Will Smith promoted it, right? Like totally, like it's like it's good stuff, man. You should check out that
I'm
book.
looking him up, and his seems says his most rated book is The Alchemist. That's not the one
Yeah,
he just put up, though, is it?
Yeah,
I don't know if that's the one he just, but it might be. I haven't kept up with his other. I think there was another one which like is more about like romantic stuff. But like he's a very interesting like you know the way he great writer, man. You should totally check him out. Like you gotta check him out. Like,
No,
one of
well,
the best
because
books.
I've been guided to that I have to be writing a book in my lifetime as well, so why not be inspired?
Dude, yeah, that's good. That's good stuff.
Have you guys had any experience with any people who have the particular knack for accessing the Akashic records, the field of collective consciousness, call it what you will?
Like, what do you mean?
The Akashic records is a term often utilized for the life path
collective
of
unconscious.
every soul that is on this earth. That includes your past, present, and future, for lack of better terms. And it's all within the probability of, or the timelines within where you're at now. Obviously, once you have that information, you can certainly alter things, but it gives you a trajectory, kind of where you're going. And then the nice thing about kind of hearing that feedback from someone who has, if they're granted access to access it. It was actually an Algonquin medicine man that I recently did this with. It was a bit of an intimate group, and he got to answer some people's questions. And it was
Mm-hmm.
just amazing the level of fluidity that this man had to access the specific library for each individual, only to the specific things relevant to that specific question. And it's literally like an indexed library for everyone. It's really, and that he was just at will able to bring this information down. It was really, really freaking interesting. Um,
Interesting.
I forgot why I brought
I
that up, but
You gotta send me some of that because that sounds pretty interesting. I haven't had it like I've had experiences where I don't know if I could say it's like past, present, future. I've had experiences where definitely like, you know, the past and the present and the future kind of deconditioned itself and I don't know like it just became something like where I kind of understood that uh, it's more of a theory really for me. I kind of theorized that you know the we're basically living on kind of like a string, and since everything is kind of moving at a rate of relativity. The electrons on an atom, the planets of our solar system, the galaxy, and all the black holes. I've kind of like, concluded that if time actually may be also kind of like that. It's something that can be totally like that, because it could be something moving. If there is something where we could actually virtually see our dimension, time could be something moving around it, just like an electron would around a nucleus of an atom. So, and or just like planets around, and it's really fascinating, because I mean all of these things are related. They're all linked to one another, because you can't really stop time. Like if you stopped time, you wouldn't, like, what would happen, like no one would know. Is the universe gonna like ripple itself? Like what is, like, it really puts you into that state where you can't, like, it's so deconditioned from just the normal realm, that it's like you're not really sure how to take this all in. It's like cause like, dude, like literally, like I was just sitting there, and I was like, holy shit, like just like comprehending, like it's like if what form does our dimension has? Like what shape does it have? Is it round? Is it cubical? Or is it and what shapes do other dimensions have? And what's even beyond that? It's like I can't, something like, it's interesting. It's definitely like fun to think that way. And it's fun to do the research, and I encourage physicists to do the research.
Do the research.
Yep. Do the research. Let's all do the research, you guys. Like, let's get on a lab together and we'll do some research.
That sounds like fun.
That sounds like fun, right? Joel, like, I know you're down for that shit. Only like,
I don't know. I've moved. Yes, research, I suppose, but the word research has evolved for me, I suppose.
no, but no, like it's that other research. It's kind of like the research where it's just like you microdose, if you know what I mean. But no, it's a fun research, trust me. But yeah, I don't know if, yeah, where were we again?
At research?
Wake up to their hearts and their courage.
Okay. No, man. I mean, I don't know. How about you, Joel? Did you have any experience like that?
I only have heard what you said, so I apologize. I can't fully answer that.
Yeah, no, because I was talking about, like, you said time and like present, future, and everything. So I'm just kind of like, I'm wondering, did you have an experience like that? Like, I don't know.
Oh, every day, pretty
Okay,
much.
that's good.
When you start shifting your perspective, not in a linear way, but just simply understand the interconnectedness of it, and then you go beyond, just thinking about it and theorizing how it all works, because it doesn't really matter the nitty gritty of it. It's just having the awareness of it. Then that's where your energy is going to go, and that's where your experience is going to flow. And that's been happening more and more recently. Like we were talking about before, we call it synchronicities. That's more prevalent for me now than ever before. And so you never know what's going to be created, because my intention is simply that it offers me the opportunity to express my highest potential.
Mm-hmm.
So really, what do I have left other than to trust my gut and to go where I'm feeling most inclined to go, and not get wrapped up in things that don't no longer serve. And when I do, they blow up in my face a lot faster, which is good. Because
That's
then you get that over with. You know what? You know wasn't you weren't supposed to do. It's like, okay, so that wasn't it. I won't waste any more time with that. It's good for things, and I'm sure that probably a lot of people can relate to that. That you go down certain roads thinking that these are stuff you're supposed to do, and then it just doesn't work, and you find out it doesn't work a lot quicker than ever before. Can anyone relate to that?
Yeah, it's learning from the process just by itself. You know, you learn from your mistakes, and you know, you see how things work really, because you know, we're all learning. You know.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that rate of learning is happening a lot quicker.
Yeah. No, it is. You're right.
Well, you know what's
So,
crazy?
like, yeah, go ahead.
The amount of knowledge that we've accumulated since like the early 1900s, like see to basically 1900 to 1950, there was like a huge increase. And then the next 20 years, there was basically another huge increase where we doubled what we already learned. And then over the next 20 years, it doubled again. Over the next 20 years, it doubled again. And like, just going back to Egypt as an example, we've never had, in the current human history, where we've recorded things, we've never had something like this. And in the time we live in, like, it's pretty incredible because we have such well, we don't really have access, but we're trying to create that access to knowledge, because with all like the disinformation and the education system and just how things are, it makes it hard for people to really accept what's going on because there's so much knowledge that's happening. It's hard for everyone on the planet to really know what's going on, right? And like, it's,
Dude,
I don't know, it's a beautiful.
it's yeah. You know what? I just thought of this metaphor as basically humans are, we're trying to catch this butterfly that's so beautiful and so complex, but yeah, we're not gonna catch it anytime soon, because and it's kind of like the butterfly being like this like all might like powerful artifact, call it something that will like change and evolve everything to the fullest complex thing. And you just it's basically we're so far from that, but at the same time we're not really, because we're getting there. We're trying to catch that butterfly, you feel me? Like we're trying to get on that level, where we're going there, and we're heading there. Like that's the thing. Like we're discovering so much beautiful stuff. Like we're trying to send satellites to Mars, and we're trying to see what kind of life went out there. Like there is
You know,
so
what
much things.
Hugo
Like
described is like the Fibonacci sequence in reverse, and it's the exposure to
yeah,
knowledge, and then and not just the exposure to it, but the application of it, which is the most important, along with the emotional maturity there as well, is growing exponentially. And the questions you're posing about technology and other life, it's like within the realm of the conspiracy theorists, for quote, they they have these are not new things that they've been in being spoken about in circles for so long, for so many years, and the information is there. And now it's just going to gain that much more exposure until ultimately, I would think that the aliens among us, the technologies that are used by the military, but that could eliminate all impoverishment of the common man, you know, all these things will eventually just flood out. That seems to be the inevitability when you look at the curve of progression, especially the more technology there is, the more exposure there is, the harder
No,
it is to keep things hidden anyways.
yeah, no, that's why like I feel like yeah, you gotta expose information. Like I feel no, but here's like this might be being the fact maybe like I'm Russian, but actually, I think, honestly, I think there should be some classified things because here's the thing, and here's the thing why I feel like it should be classified because some things just in general, are it could be too shocking for a population. It could get out because if it becomes it stays classified and somehow someone rediscovers it and reintegrates it into our which actually is happening right now, and so we're basically, that's what's happening. you know we're just finding old stuff and changing it around and you know making beautiful things happen. Because I feel like, like Isaac Newton, for example, like the man was like, I'm pretty sure if you took his brain and just kind of like examined it from like saw how he looked on the world and just, like you would probably, you like it would be so like it would blow up another brain, I'm pretty sure. Because I
But
mean,
you're looking at this from a limited perspective. You're looking at it through a perspective of restriction. That's what the current system does. It doesn't matter how you pitch restriction. Restriction is not
well,
honesty and it's
it
not
could
truth.
be limited. No, I mean it could be
Hold
limited,
on, hold on,
man.
hold on, hold on.
Not
It's losing oneself in the how of it, in the perception from your experience that it might be too much for people to handle. Guess what? If people are exposed to something, it's because they're going to be ready to handle it on some level, on whatever soul level it is that they're going to experience. If it's meant to bring them through a quick, hastened waking up, so be it. If it's meant to take them to taking their lives because, or be in a place where the lives will end because at a soul level they recognize they cannot make the transition during these hastened times, so be it. Again, it's just a matter of letting it unfold. All you got to do is your part. Don't worry about everyone else and how it will unfold. Just do your part. Don't put restriction where there need be none.
no, I mean, like, dude, I'm so glad you have like that like view. I don't share that view of like, humanity and everything. I don't know why. Like, it's weird because like, for if let's say, okay, if we exposed all the technologies right now that all the quantum physicists, all the scientists have, and all of it just right now we released it. I feel, I don't think it would be a good thing, to be honest, because there's going to be people that are going to use it in, not good ways. And I feel like if we because look what happened, um, uh, when the nuclear weaponry was discovered. It was not about it was this project started with all the best minds of, the 20th century, trying to understand quantum physics, how it worked, how everything worked. And then, the government just kind of, just exposing it like that, just kind of exposing it to, the other, because if they kept it classified, and if they kept it to, kind of not under wraps, but under a certain level of classified information, I feel like Nagasaki would not, and like Hiroshima would not happen, because that's just, that's my personal opinion. I could be totally wrong, like, but
Let me ask you this, Nikolai. Look at
what?
look at my neutral stance towards something as potentially controversial as the things you're describing about it.
Mm.
If I'm one person among many,
Mm-hmm.
yet you're all being exposed to what I'm sharing. So on some level, you all have some capacity to be neutral about this subject or potentially any
Mm-hmm.
subject. So given that potentiality, doesn't that stand to reason that anyone else out there in the world being exposed to extreme truths will also have in their experience some kind of counterbalance to get the perfect results that they need? That there will be other versions, other people like us, in whatever capacity they need for support, so that things will come out in a more positive fashion.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Absolutely.
Because that's the reality we can create. So
Yeah,
the
and
longer
I feel
anyone holds on to the negative potentiality,
exactly.
the
No,
more energy lies on that, then the more you will be likely to experience some facsimile of that. So
yes, I
this
was gonna.
is where I'm trying to really hammer home here is don't lay energy. Well, we know these things, but don't lay energy to the well, what if, and what if that, and but oh my God, then there's that. It's like that. That's script writing.
No, no. What I'm trying to say is like, take uranium for example, okay? You could use it to understand so much. There's so much knowledge you could acquire from a lump of uranium, from an understanding point of view. But what you could also do with uranium, you could poison a whole village of civilians. You could destroy, you know, just explosive make a massive explosion that would wipe out a lot of people. And there you get it, just like how knowledge could be misused, like you see me, because knowledge is power, you know. um, it's not it's like you could misuse it, and that's why, like I'm saying, you just said there's people that have a lot of knowledge on certain things, and I feel like if, let's say, you know okay, let's say like someone like George Bush or some shit like that, got a hold of that person, and because you're absolutely right. I actually, we are actually, there is a whole unsympathetic kind of uh, authority that is around, but it's not around like it's around if we kind of it's there if we want it to be there. So it's very contradicting, uh, to the uh, wait, okay. Давай, ну, сейчас я тогда. Sorry. What I was saying. Oh yeah. So yeah. Could you guys like what did I just say? I kind of lost my train of thought. Sorry. Like my roommate just kind of interrupted me.
it was
We
shit.
were going deep, man. I know we were going deep. I was on this thing. Oh yeah, yeah. Unsympathetic authority. Got it. So if we're, I feel like if, we know, like as us community, like if I share the knowledge with you, Joel, and because I know deep down that you're a very intellectual human being and you're not going to use this knowledge on you're going to use it for the greater good because, it's full of intelligence. So, like I said, it's really, it's all about like, keeping things, I believe it's about keeping things classified with intellectual people. Really, it's not really about keeping things classified between people that are like unsympathetic authority. It's like just keeping things classified under, like, like I said, just making these beautiful communities. Of course they will stay classified at a certain point, but not for long, right?
So
Better to put things out in the open and letting people discover it should they choose to look for it.
I think it should be secular. It shouldn't it should be total secularism. I mean, I'm a secularist. I don't think it should be enforced on anyone. It should be something, if you think it's something for you, you keep it kind of to your, I don't know. It's really,
So, where did you get this enforcement thing? What I said is have it out in the open for
mm,
people to access if they choose to. If they don't want to experience and they want to have a limited experience like they've always had, then that's
mhm,
all. They'll keep watching their 11 o'clock news and their soap operas and going working 9 to 5, and
right.
that's all they'll experience.
But we all know that's not how it works, because when you get a really powerful idea and you get it outside, it gets so powerful that it actually becomes so mainstream, and you get it into the government, and you get this. I personally think it's that's where you get a lot of wars, because I don't want my children to be living in a unsecular world, because I want my children. I don't want to have a government that's just kind of has nuclear weapons, and kind of says on the dollar bill that in God we trust. Like, that's just sketch.
I don't
Um,
want a government, period. How about we govern ourselves?
yeah, exactly. But we once we understand the but you got to understand that it's all baby steps, really. We can't really, because if we create this massive revolution, and and it happened on the course
Nikolai,
of
people
almost.
already leading revolutions. I cannot tell you how many I have been a part of and how many invitations I continue to
Yeah,
receive.
yeah,
There
no,
are
I know, I know,
pockets of consciousness all over the place.
I know, Joel. No, I don't doubt that, man. But I'm talking about. I'm not talking about just like revolutions, like, I'm talking, about kind of, let's keep it low key, you guys. Like, let's infiltrate the government. Like, let's not, like, I feel like if we keep it low key, because if you're getting this massive kind of, but no, you're totally doing it right though, so you're good. Like, you're doing it the way how you're doing it, but there's
And
certain,
what you're describing is also being done. The
yeah,
subtle action. God, I don't know how many Project Camelot interviews I've heard of people working on the inside, or people that I've met on Kate of Gaia's show, police officers or people in other positions of influence that have like woken up to their courage to realize what they're actually contributing to and not being okay with doing that, and
right.
going back to take it apart from the inside, if you will. It's happening on all levels. Any level you can conceive of it, it is happening. Otherwise, you won't even be conceiving it.
No, exactly, exactly. I agree with you, but okay, p police officers, law enforcement, all of the government, they're all, you have to understand, all the people that work in the CIA, that people, I don't know what in Canada, it's what the Central Intelligence there is called, but people that work in these kind of agencies, they're people just like you and me. They're good, they're beautiful. I'm sure they could be beautiful,
Yeah,
hard
hence the problem of,
kind of,
of stratification within information and
yeah,
layers. That's why you cannot have that. That's why it all needs to be transparent. because that's the only way that you have honesty and forward progression and
But
accountability built in.
right. But no, here's the thing. When we yes, but if we keep it classified and we keep it steady, because if it gets completely, reintegrate bit by bit, chip by chip, and once you reintegrate, because if you go out there and just kind of spread the knowledge to, I don't know, because
Nikolai, I'm sorry, your argument poses no validity. There is no reason why we need to continue having children on complete continents starving when if there wasn't money being fueled into greedy pockets who think nothing of fear of losing what they have and their
I'm
power
not
over the
saying that.
populace, none of this is necessary anymore.
Right. I'm not saying that though. I'm
But
saying
no, don't give me a story. We're talking about the principle and heart of the matter here. We don't need to colorize it with any what ifs.
no. I'm not saying what ifs, bro. What I'm saying
Yes,
is
you are. Listen to
um
yourself. Go listen to this replay.
no. Don't replay it. What I'm saying is I'm just, I'm a nice guy and I love, human beings, whether that human being is a police officer, whether that human being is a CIA agent. I have love for everyone, and I feel like, I'm just doing my job, and I don't want any kind of, fucking batshit crazy motherfucker getting hold of any nuclear energy, or because here's the thing, not a lot of people think like you, Joel. You
Yeah,
understand
here's
that?
the other problem. Here's the other problem. People think I'm just doing my job. Okay, so you, the police officer who is tasering this person for no reason, I'm just doing my job. Yeah, that
Right.
really rationalizes. That really takes away responsibility from the self now, doesn't it?
But yeah, no, but if you relate to that police officer, and if you actually, I'm not saying like corrupt. I'm not talking about corruption. I'm talking about just,
But ignorance.
yeah,
Yes. Yes.
yes, I'm talking about, like, let's say a police officer gets in a form of some really bad like accident where it gives him post-traumatic stress disorder, right? I feel personally like I as a society we need to take care of, you know that person, whether it's from a MDMA experience where we administer it a very psychiatric way, or ayahuasca, or we need to reintegrate this in a way how it would be not it would be presentable to kind of talk about, and in the society, and it is happening.
You have your scientific perspective to explain it. You have Indigo pursuing shamanistic practices to
Yeah.
offer to people. I have an ability to communicate spirituality in a practical sense and a neutral perspective and allowing people to understand the connections and interconnectedness of things. You can see we're all playing our role in it. All we have to do is our role, not worry about the how and what ifs of all these. Well, I think it should be like that. Well, just do your role. Not
I
your job, not your job. Just do what your soul came here to do.
Yeah. Joel, I truly wish I thought like you, but it's just I had my experiences where I saw knowledge being misused.
I
I
see that
saw
all
it.
the time as well, but then I also see beautiful things.
No, yeah, you see beautiful things, and you see, but there is things that you rather avoid, and there's things that's why you have to have a very analytical view on how you actually, okay, think you have this powerful artifact. Should I just kind of, how should I use it? It could be
How would you
anything.
use it, Nikolai? How would you use it?
I would use it. How would you share the knowledge through through people that think alike? Like, I would share that knowledge with you.
Done.
share that.
Well,
Done.
hold on.
Then it's done right there.
Can I
Yeah.
add to that? Because this idealism of having intellectuals is kind of a crock of shit. Because
Mhm.
we should
Okay.
all be intellectuals.
Yeah.
Because
Absolutely agree.
if our society was giving access to knowledge, then everyone would actually use intellect and wisdom, because they were not having segregation with the masses, because the thing with like media and the current and like the hiding of knowledge is now there's not only is there segregation between like race and sex and everything else, but it's also knowledge, where like we have entire societies of people who are kept away from understandings of how to heal, like even from a medical perspective, because Western medicine is
Yes.
quite phenomenal for some of its things, but it's also like we have to learn how to go back into how the planet functions, and the
Yeah.
planet doesn't function by segregating everything. Gaia, as a whole, everything is supposed to take time, because you can't just have, trees grow in 10 days and expect them to be perfect. No, this takes hundreds and hundreds of years.
More
And so,
specifically, the cycles.
yeah, and like when you have trees that have been growing for hundreds and hundreds of years, they cover the forest and they create darkness. Well, then you have the addition of tiny little plants that grow, and then you have like mycelium and other types of funguses that help spread. Well, it's just like how the brain functions and how like animals and humans, well, humans are animals. Like, it's
But
all how we interact.
you're
And
you're bringing up like such a valid point actually, because
okay,
no, dude, I totally agree with you, because you're saying what you're
Hold on. He has another connection to make, though, to get you to see the bigger picture. Indigo, please.
oh no, it's all good. Go ahead, Nikolai. Go
Okay.
ahead.
It's the
Thanks.
point.
No. Okay. I was gonna, because okay, here's the thing. It's very important to keep in mind that there is all these things that are not visible to the human eye, and we cannot really acquire this information without the right equipment or the right kind of artifact, or and I that brings to my point that I feel like, to understand, I mein, from like, I'm not, my role is not to gorge anyone's kind of sacred cow or anything. Like, dude, like, I totally, like, it's not none of my, like, I believe, I respect everyone. I want everyone to be happy. I want everyone to believe in what they want to believe. But I feel like if we understand, and if we become, what I said, synchronicity, and if we could somehow maybe touch, figure out a way how, just like, somehow, it sounds complete like science fiction, but I mean, if we could somehow, like, let's say if I touch the ground and like there's a tree that starts like growing, just understanding or inventing some kind of understanding the photosynthesis of a tree, what is the process of that, and how we could grow, maybe not speed up, and I know I might get some GMO claims on that, but I'm not going there. But if we could somehow understanding, my main goal is to understand and to share this information with people, and to and just share this rich, juicy knowledge that I feel that is very important for the human condition. And it's not, it could be very important, it could have, things could have a medical potential, things could have other potentials. It could be a potential to the economy. It could be a potential to, like, for example, look at cannabis. It could be a complete potential to the economy, yet, it's still illegal. It's still, there's, people go to jail for no fucking reason. People, it's bullshit. But, like you said, Joel, like you said, the sharing of knowledge, because people are sharing knowledge, people like this thing, is gonna change. Wait another 10 years, and people are gonna, completely. But I mean, it's going there, it's not. It's very like, if it stays like, if we all kind of like, obviously it's common sense what I'm saying, like, pot should be, but, on a government perspective, and on a kind of like federal perspective, we should be able to reintegrate that somehow, in order to kind of not be the counterculture, but just, kind of work with one another. You feel me? Like, I don't know. I don't know. I might be wrong, man. But I feel like, I feel like that's the way to go. Politically speaking, of course. Politically speaking, like, I'm not the kind of guy that would totally like act like that. But on a political level, I feel like, we should have some kind of balance on how to spread this kind of information. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you understand me? Like, I don't know.
I take the principle of what you're talking about, and in this very case, you said you're not the guy to act like that, even though you have this sort of feeling about it. You're describing your own segregation and separation within yourself. You'll continue to experience contrast in your life as long as you hold contrast within yourself.
Well,
You
I mean,
haven't yet connected the truer essence of what spiritual growth is about. You still haven't.
well, I'm
faced
not a
that.
very, very, like, I'm gonna tell you, like, straight up, I'm not spiritual at all.
No, you are. You are, because you're seeking to grow. You're seeking to create and be the at the helm of that creation. What you haven't yet done is
Yeah, that's called
that
self-growth. I
aspect.
mean, we might have different vocabularies, but, it's, you may call it spiritual. I may not, because I personally, I'm completely atheist. But I feel, and it's something like, I hold it, I don't want to spread that. Like, it's not something I spread. Like, I keep, my atheism to myself. It's not something I go and tell, like, everyone, I'm atheist. People, like, hello, like. But no, it's like, I feel, I don't know. I don't know. It's I feel as a human being that, if I have my moral standards, and I feel if I'm, uh if I'm the best of who I am, and I try to treat how other people, how I like to be treated. I think, you know and you know what, if we're going on this talk of afterlife, I feel like I live my life to the fullest, and, I try to focus on this life to the fullest, not focusing on, what's, out there. I'm trying to focus on what's really in here, and I'm, just trying to kind of get, what it's about, really. Trying to just focus on, and we will eventually, get there. We will eventually get to that level we're talking about. But it's really, we're not gonna say it by words, man. I mean, it's just not gonna happen. I'm sorry. It's just, that's the problem of all fucking religions, that you're not gonna get anywhere by words. Because if you, it's like, look, it's like the goddamn Eastern Bunny. It makes no fucking sense. It's, people like traditions. I understand that. People, uh, people love, if we keep it traditional, like, it's awesome. But, you know, uh, that's just my own personal belief. I'm all for proof, and I feel greatly that that's proof. If we get rich knowledge and rich information, that's you know uh, and being with other human beings, focusing on them really rather than on and focusing just like a shake of a human being or like a hug of someone, that's like most